Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Is that it? Am I on? Am I on? Am I on? I didn't hear the open. The real shocker to, I'm sure, all of you, that after a 1-month hiatus, my return is a fumbled, jumbled, effed up affair. Assuming I'm on now, because I don't even know. I am. Okay, thank you. Jeez! Hello! Here I am. Back, rested. The new me. Start whittling away at her immediately. So, hi guys. Sorry about the messed up beginning. That's on me. I received a what do you call those? Message. Jeez. I received a message from my producer at 10 a.m. this morning. I was sitting here with my headset on, all my stuff in front of me, ready to get back into the fray. And this is the message I got. Hi, Lynn. Just checking in to see how you are doing and when you wanted to start back with the show. And I texted back in all capital letters, now! Now! Now, thank God on the other end is a cool customer, Kevin, who said, oh, okay, getting everything going in a few minutes. And I sat here and I realized that as somebody who has spent a professional life in communications, I am one lousy communicator. It hadn't even occurred to me to communicate with Kevin prior to today's show that I was in fact back, that I was ready to get going at 10 a.m. this morning, something he probably suspected but really wasn't sure of since he hadn't heard a peep from me. I'm such a team player, I gotta tell you. Kevin, I'm sorry. I am really sorry. And then, as if that's not enough, I am sitting here, waiting, beating myself up and thinking, what an idiot you are. And then waiting. And I just happened to be sort of looking around at anything that was in front of my eyes, which were scanning in front of me and various pieces of paper. And then I saw this piece of paper that is attached to my computer and it has numbers on it. And I thought, oh my God, I'm supposed to call into the show. So I hadn't even done the most preliminary thing of all to get on the show myself, let alone not communicating to the producer that there was going to be a show. And I hadn't even called in. I was sitting here with my headset on. It was totally not connected to anything. Oh my God. So anyway, here we are. 20 minutes or so, a little late. But here we are. I suppose some of the charm of this program is its incompetence. So it really all on me, and I'm really sorry. So, anything happened while I was gone? Man, you think and I got to tell you, one of the things I did while on hiatus was really attempt to tune out. I watched zero television news. Zero. Well, maybe a little teeny-weeny thing every once in a while, but rare. Even when the Russia thing happened, I maintained my distance from television news, and I will continue that because I do believe that television news is 99% of the time not good for you. It's not good for your understanding of what's going on. It's not good for your mental health. It's just not good. And news can be gotten in so many other ways. So it's not that I didn't know what was going on. I was just taking it in through the printed word. Jesus God, and what's going on? If you think that I am going to somehow say anything that I'm sure somebody else hasn't said, I don't know. But here's another thing I decided. I'm done with pundits. I'm done with experts, pretty much. Because I really think that we are all capable of figuring things out. And there are so many people who are touted as experts who are forever wrong. Sort of like the TV weather guy. Wrong. And yet you tune in the next day wanting to know what the weather's going to be. We got to break that reaction that somebody else will tell us what to think. I think the thing to do is to take in as many voices and points of view as you can, and that is incredibly easy these days, given the internet. It's also, of course, daunting because you might feel, I don't know who's credible and who's not. I don't know what's real and what's fake. I don't know who knows what they're talking about and who doesn't. But I'll tell you this, anyone who's speculating, which is what cable news traffics in, all that yapping 24/7 is almost invariably speculation, is it not? Now, people who are speculating are maybe more capable than you in speculating on certain topics, but they ain't sphinxes, they ain't seers, they ain't prophets. And I'm sick of the speculation. I'd rather live in the current, the now, the present is a lot to deal with. And I don't know that we're dealing with it when we're wondering what's going to happen in the future. I don't know what I'm talking about. I really don't. I am so... Isn't it amazing? After 2+ years with our lives truncated by an enemy we couldn't even see, a microscopic being which was terrorizing us as much as any terrorist ever managed, causing us to alter our lives in ways we had never done before. Schools closed, businesses closed, we hunkered down, fearful. For 2 years plus. And we bemoaned our fate. Wondered if we'd ever get back to anything that seemed normal. And who would have thought that our anxiety and our terror of microscopic would yield in our minds to something we could see and something we could hear. World War III. We're really on a run, aren't we? We are on a run. I'm obsessed with picture. I keep seeing it. Even when I'm not seeing it, I'm seeing it. It's imprinted on my brain. You've seen it. It's a picture that takes in from somewhat of a distance, because it has to take in the subjects in the picture. From a pretty far distance, takes in this huge, ornate room with white columns holding up domed ceilings. I mean, in the picture, I don't think you ever see the top of the columns. They're like 5 stories tall, and there's this extraordinarily ornate mosaic or marbled floor. Huge, imposing room. And at one side of this vast, empty, majestic room sits one man. The photographer is so far away that you can't distinguish much about him. He sits at a desk wearing a black suit, like he might be balding. And then you sweep from him across the expanse of the rest of the photograph, over the mosaic or marbled extraordinary floor, past all these columns, way over to what appears to be the other side of this massive room. And there on chairs sit, I don't know, 4 or 5 men in dark suits. And what's bizarre about the picture, of course, is that this is obviously a meeting. This is a meeting. It reminds me of when I was a kid, of watching movies and seeing like a really rich person's dining room table, and maybe 2 rich people, a husband and wife, eating. The husband at one end of this unbelievably ornate long table, and then 17, 18, 20 feet down, the wife at the other end. And I remember thinking, this is nuts. Are they together? You know the picture I'm talking about. And there's another one of him in a different room. It does have like a big conference table of some sort in it. Again, with him at one end. And way, I mean, you can barely see these other three guys, these toadies, down at the other end, cringing, facing him. This is a frightening picture to me. Why I can't get it out of my head. Because it says so much about this man, this little man, little balding man who holds the whole world hostage. It tells us a lot about him. It tells us he's a classic bully, obsessed with power, fearful of everybody. That is why I find my sleepless nights now not so much about the microscopic terror that we've lived with for so long and many have died of, but rather this visible, corporeal terror. This megalomaniac, this humiliated megalomaniac. There is no more dangerous beast. Saw a quote from Nelson Mandela. He said it. Well, I just paraphrased it inadvertently. I just looked at it and I just said it. Nelson Mandela said, "There is nobody more dangerous than one who has been humiliated." Now, we will add to that one who has been humiliated and possesses thousands of nuclear warheads. And who is a megalomaniac? And who is divorced from everybody, left stewing in his own crazed juices. It was the humiliation he felt from the dissolution of the Soviet Union that drove him to seek power in the first place. But now that he has miscalculated how this little particular gambit of his, this attempt to start to take back what he sees as his from the humiliation of the end of the Cold War, he's humiliated anew. His army, his vaunted military, kept at bay much longer than anybody, including all the experts, thought by scrappy Ukrainians who are fighting for something, who are fighting for something, as opposed to the Russian military, which doesn't have a effing clue, those poor souls, individual people in it, what they're fighting for. But I quote David Brooks here, how does a guy who has spent his life battling against feelings of shame and humiliation react as large parts of the world rightly shame and humiliate him? How does a guy who has spent his life trying to appear powerful and far-seeing react as he increasingly appears weak and short-sighted? And of course, those questions lead us to Mandela's quote, the danger of such man. But here's the other question I have. If his threats, which he throws out so cavalierly, that looking at him cross-eyed will be considered an act of war, that in any way aiding the extraordinarily courageous Ukrainian people will be seen as an act of war, is now bombing so close to a NATO ally's border. If we fear that he will act on his threat, and the threat is of World War III, no doubt about it. The threat is of World War III, and that is a war that could well be fought in ways that humanity has never conceived. We got so many more ways of killing millions. Touch of a button. Chemicals. Microscopic killers, biological killers, and of course, nuclear. But if the world doesn't stop him here, then here's the part I don't get. Then what would prevent him from going into, I don't know, pick a country. We'll start with the non-NATO countries, Moldova. Right? So obviously at some point, we will, Europe will, NATO will have to engage him, it would seem. It seems to me that it would be better sooner rather than later. And again, I look not into a crystal ball here, but back at history, because so much of this is so reminiscent of the world standing by in horror watching Adolf Hitler and his tanks go into neighboring sovereign states and taking them. I don't know, guys. Don't know. So, I mean, I'm sure I have a lot more to say on it, but off the top of my head, that would be it. Roger writes, welcome back. At least not much has changed since you've been away, except for the beginning of World War III. Little Tony says, I just knew that was going to happen. In other words, that there'd be a mucked up return of the show. Welcome back. And of course, the world is in a worse state than when we last heard you. Good grief, and heaven help us. Yeah. Yeah. And Bob thinks I want to talk football. Well, I can see why some people would, throw up their hands and say, I'm just going to distract myself. I'm just going to, Instead of looking at real warfare, I think I'll look at like faux warfare. I'll look at football. I'll obsess on that. Speaking of football, oh, geez. I didn't read anything about it. I just saw the headline. Tom Brady's come out of retirement. He retired for what, 2 months? He'll be like Mick Jagger. He'll be like the Rolling Stones. He'll be friggin' 70 and still playing. It's all he knows how to do. But Bob said, since I've been gone, the Rams won the Super Bowl over the Bengals. I saw that. I was rooting for the Bungles. They should have won it. Damn. And Bob points out that the Rams had former Penn Hills and Pitt star Aaron Donald, and that Aaron Donald received a key to the city from Mayor Gainey. Well, that's nice. Oh, a bridge fell down while I was gone. I think that happened like the day, whatever. That's right here in my neighborhood. I take that bridge. Well, I cook. Let's get the tense right. All the time. Yeah. Wow. Dear Lord. Yeah, the Packers re-signed lunatic Aaron Rodgers, who I got to tell you, a lot of Packer fans will be rooting for the Packers, of course, but they really don't like the quarterback anymore. And Russell Wilson was traded to the Broncos, and the Steelers hired for him. I know all this, Brian Flores. Yes. Although he should be getting a head coaching job. All right. Thank you, Robert, for bringing me up to date on all things football. And apparently baseball has decided to play ball. That's for those of you who want distraction. Oh, never mind. Yes, you want some distraction. I came upon this the other day, and I am going to distract you for just a second, okay? It's a letter from John Steinbeck, the author, to another celebrity you will know, to Marilyn Monroe. Who knew? Apparently they, knew each other. Celebrities often do, I guess, know each other. And he wrote this letter. It popped up somewhere. And I just want to, first of all, he's a good writer. So it's a wonderful letter. Can I read it to you just for fun, just because it has nothing to do with the end of the world? It was written in April of 1955. Dear Marilyn, in my whole experience, I have never known anyone to ask for an autograph for himself. It is always for a child or an ancient aunt, which gets very tiresome, as you know better than I. It is, therefore, with a certain nausea that I tell you that I have a nephew who lives in Austin, Texas, whose name is John Atkinson. He has his foot in the door of puberty, but that is only one of his problems. You are the other. I know that you are not made of celestial ether, but he doesn't. A suggestion that you have normal functions would shock him deeply, and I am not going to be the one to tell him. On a recent trip to Texas, my wife made the fatal error of telling John that I knew you. He doesn't really believe it, but his respect for me has gone up, even for lying about it. Now, I get asked for all kinds of silly favors, so I have no hesitation in asking one of you. Would you send him, in my care, a picture of yourself, perhaps in pensive, girlish mood, inscribed to him by name and indicating that you are aware of his existence? He is already your slave. This would make him mine. If you will do this, I will send you a guest key to the ladies' entrance of Fort Knox. And furthermore, I will like you very much. Yours sincerely, John Steinbeck. Ain't that the greatest? Don't ask me if she sent it. Of course she sent it. I mean, I don't know, but of course she sent it. We have a caller. Hello, caller.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, welcome back.
Yeah,
Hey,
welcome back.
I want to talk you down a little bit before you start World War III. First of all, he's probably going to have a hell of a time just taking Ukraine. He's not going to have the finances, and he's just not going to do it. It's going to, and then once he does, you got a little problem of keeping control of that country, just like we did in Iraq. So he'd be there forever trying to screw around with keeping control. Second, another thing is, he is no match to the United States and the NATO allies. He's a lightweight. Another thing is, you don't push a button and the world's over. It's chains of command, and you know that too. I know you do. They're not, the people under him are not on the same page. They will not go along with the mass destruction. He will be overthrown and be thrown out. That's what will happen to Putin. He'll be like Gaddafi. They'll be fucking shooting him. So I have no worries that we'll get into World War III. I just don't believe that at all.
All right.
I just don't know. People think a guy, I mean, it's not.
I don't know how
he's going to be thrown out. I think he is.
I don't know how the hell you go from gloomy Gus to all of a sudden you're Pollyanna optimistic person.
And that kind of stuff, I just don't worry about it. Now, China I might worry about, but Russia, I don't know.
Okay, and I hear you.
Yeah, I just don't think nobody wants to take the world out, really. And I don't think
they
that's,
might not want to, but it could
I don't even think he's going
to.
He's going to have a hell of a time in Ukraine. He's not going to have the finances. The people are going to uprise. He's going to have more trouble controlling his own country, let alone going to this country. Oh my God, that's never going to happen. I'd lay money at Vegas. That would never happen.
Okay,
there ain't no way. And you're underestimating people I know. Like all my family's been in the military, and the Air Force power we have and the naval power is unbelievable. It's unmatched. It's unmatched. It really is. We could take him out right now. That's what I hear. But they're going to wait it out. So I'm not too concerned about it, and you shouldn't be either. There's other better things to worry about than World War III. Okay.
All
have
right.
a good day.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye. Yeah, I'll worry about the pirates. Okay. No, first of all, no, eventually, there's no way that, I mean, the vice is tightening around the major cities of Ukraine. Eventually, his ego would not let him back down, there's a slight chance, I would think, that there could be some negotiated settlement if Zelensky allows him to peel away those two eastern areas in Crimea and say, all right, take them and get the hell out of here and leave the rest of us alone. That's a possibility. I guess we'll see. I don't know. But it is also possible that he's just going to continue to terrorize the Ukrainian population and indiscriminately bomb their cities, and Zelensky will get killed. Don't get me started on him. I am so in love with him. I agree totally with you. There's no way Russia will ever subdue the Ukrainian population, even if they take the country and set up a puppet government. There's no way. And yes, it will be like Afghanistan or Russia. They did Afghanistan before us. And, I mean, I don't know. And we still don't know if China is willing to help Russia with materiel and finances. I think that's still an open question. So I don't know. Neither do you. This will play out, and people are dying. Innocent, wonderful people are dying. Boy, Russia. And see, the Russian people, they don't necessarily, I mean, yeah, if things get bad enough there, in terms of their economy, or if someone in his inner circle, and you see how close even his inner circle gets to him, decides to take him out, that would be great. But I don't know. I don't know. Listen to this quote. This is a quote from a former United States president. You might have a sense of this president. He's one of the presidents that all Americans, even those who don't know our history, have at least heard of, and that would be a guy named Abraham Lincoln. Okay, here's a quote that I'd never heard before. As a nation, we began by declaring that all men are created equal. When the know-nothings get control, it will read, all men are created equal except Negroes and foreigners and Catholics. When it comes to this, I should prefer emigrating to some country where they make no pretense of loving liberty. To Russia, for instance, where despotism can be taken pure and without the base alloy of hypocrisy. Whoa! Somehow that just doesn't sound like him to me. And that quote, I got it from Jared Day, who is a historian, so I'm going to assume he would not be trafficking in false Lincoln quotations. But wow. Wow. Yeah. Boy, the Russian apologists on the right, amazing, huh? And did you see that there is, come on, don't tell me you can't open the page. What do you mean you can't open the page? Open the page. Let me get it for you in some other way. This is this is from, I think, Mother Jones. And it is, excuse me, my foul mouth didn't get any better while I was gone. I really should work on it, shouldn't I? Screw it. I can't find it. It was a piece from Mother Jones about a leaked memo from the Russian security service of some sort. It definitely looks to be the real deal. And it actually, it's a memo instructing the state-run, and now they all are, media outlets, to quote and use as much Tucker Carlson as they can to show the people of Russia that even in the United States, the people are not buying into the U.S. propaganda that this is some war of aggression. And the memo it is a Kremlin memo to the media saying it is essential that they feature Tucker Carlson. Wow. One of the things that I did read, and again, I said, I'm not listening to the experts anymore, but I will certainly read things that they write, especially people who obviously have expertise in a certain area. And such a man is a guy named Robert Gates, who served both as Secretary of Defense of this country and also as the CIA director at one point. So he's served in a million different administrations, Republicans, Democrats, and he's a guy. I don't know how ingenious he is, but he sure as hell is a guy who sort of understands geopolitics at some level, certainly higher than mine. And he wrote a very interesting piece about how this is a wake-up call to all of us slumbering souls. I'm just going to read a little pieces of it to you in case you hadn't seen it yourself, because I really think it's good and worth taking in. I am, again, take in and then, as the caller and as I then come to your own conclusion. But he says that Putin's invasion of Ukraine has ended our 30-year holiday from history. That for the first time since World War II, the United States faces powerful, aggressive adversaries. In Europe, Russia, and in Asia, China, both seeking to recover their past glory and their spheres of influence. The Russian and Chinese challenge to what had been a relatively peaceful world order, at least as it came to Europe, has been developing for years. And this war has provided, he says, the cold shower needed to awaken the democratic governments, the new reality of our world. There is no doubt, and I absolutely agree with him here, as I'm sure you would, that Russia and China are the main threats to our country, the main outward threats. We got plenty of threats domestically, right inside, and I would think they are the greatest. But out there, the threats are Russia and China. Those threats are political, they're economic, and they're military. And he goes on to say that we must recognize that we face a different global struggle of indeterminate duration against two great powers that share authoritarianism at home and hostility to us. And they are challenging us, not only militarily, as we see now, but they're challenging us with other instruments of power that we used to be the ones out there. And that is with development assistance to other nations. China's going gangbusters there. On strategic communications, on covert and other influence operations. We've certainly seen that with Trump's chosen U.S. president, Donald Trump. China, according to Gates, without a doubt remains the principal long-term threat. But, as we see now, a reckless megalomaniac dictator in Russia or anywhere else can be every bit as much a challenge to our security and our interests. And he says if we're going to do this, then we can't have business as usual. He said all the way we think about national security, and he knows this because that's the business he's been in as CIA director, as Secretary of Defense. He says our whole national security structures are, for the most part, built out of World War II from the late 1940s. And they got to change. He goes on into a lot of stuff, but he says this about it. He would know this. He says, if we are to take on this threat, there must be a radical reform inside our Pentagon. The current way of doing business there is putting us at risk. Old bureaucratic habits must give way to new approaches that force speed and agility in moving new technologies from decision to deployment. Overhead must be slashed with the savings plowed into these new capabilities. And he goes after Congress. Congress's disgraceful failure, year after year, to fund new kinds of technologies has got to end. This war reminds us that the world is truly a dangerous and deadly place. And our executive and legislative branches must understand this new world we live in and set aside business as usual. Oh, a lot of luck with that. And finally, the president and members of both parties in Congress need to work together. Good luck with that. To explain to the American people why the fate of other countries like Ukraine matters to us. Americans need to understand in practical terms how events abroad affect security at home and their own pocketbooks. This role falls principally upon the president, and as Franklin Roosevelt said, the greatest duty of a statesman is to educate. Putin's war and China's aggressive ambitions have ended the post-Cold War era and upended the global order of the past 70 years. And that is true. That's what, I mean, what we're seeing is more than just this particular war. It's over. This whole era is over. We are at the beginning of a new one. You know, my mom and dad's generation, they watched as a European power and an Asian power brought havoc to their lives and the lives of the globe. Germany and Japan then, now Russia and China. Gates ends with this: our government must respond by reforming our national security institutions, developing a global strategy, and helping Americans understand why events abroad matter to us. Reminds us again that the MAGA crowd is, as usual, wrong again. Oh. Hey guys, I have to tell you something. I'm going to have to truncate this. I know we started late, but I have an appointment that I have to keep, thinking that the show would end at 11. It is now 11:10. So I'm gonna have to, I got somebody coming up to my door. This is an appointment I have to keep. Listen, it's good to be back. And I will be back tomorrow, and I will hope that we'll start it on time. And I'll remember to actually call into my own show. And we'll have Susan, because it's a Tuesday. And we're up and off and running. And it's good to be back. See you tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.